So I think it's a lovely move down now. We'll move across into Lisa's talk, which is on organisational opinion leadership in cooperative organisations in respect to critical theory. So a lovely flow, I think, through the three papers today. So brilliant, Lisa, you've managed to upload. Super. I will hand over to you, Lisa.
Thank you. Welcome to this section, Studying Organizational Political Science, Opinion Leadership at Co-ops. I'm Lisa Chen, a tutor at SOAS, and my co-authors, Steve Brown is an associate professor at Georgia Gwinnett College in Georgia, United States, and Babu George is a professor at the Christian Brothers University in Tennessee, United States, and Peter Flett is a lecturer at Stirling University in United Kingdom. So the aim of this research is to study a large-scale co-ops in retail chain stores and online store in United States because there's a little attention on studying virtual and large-scale co-ops. So the assumption is the democratic organizational culture, political science, opinion leadership, identity, and other factors such as organizational structure, place, economic context, demographics may have an influence on opinion leadership during the election of the board members. Democratic leadership is suggested to study co-ops. However, the guidelines between EU and international cooperatives alliances are different. Co-ops follow international cooperative alliances, which takes into consideration not only financial and political shared values, but also internal and external well-being, for example, communities, co-op networks, and training and development. There are two dimensions, internal and external, in leading co-ops. The similarities among leaderful practice, distributed leadership, and telos leadership lenses are the leadership is shared and considering internal stakeholders. On the other hand, telos leadership lens and leaderful practice focus on external factors, for instance, external stakeholders. Political science opinion seekers seek opinion leaders based on their personal values, competencies, and group identity, especially the relational perspectives between managerial and non-managerial organizational opinion leader. Some of the variables are related to distributed leadership. For instance, managerial and non-managerial opinion seekers seek opinions based on friendship in informal synergy. Managerial opinion seekers and political science opinion seekers seek information from status-oriented opinion leaders, and non-managerial organizational opinion seekers and political science opinion seekers seek opinions within non-managerial group. Okay, and then co-op organizational culture, democratic leadership, political science opinion leadership might influence opinion leadership during the election at the co-ops. The similarity among these democratic leadership theories is that leadership is not a privilege of few. It's interesting to know that distributed leadership and political science opinion leaders have something in common in terms of personal and inside story-oriented opinion leadership. And Weber in 1905 believes that bureaucracy provides the official position, control, and hierarchical structure, and the bureaucracy affects how organizational members perceive themselves in relation to others. And so there are three identity theories: individual, relational, and social identity. Some scholars believe that voting is group-oriented. For example, conservative believers share information within the conservative groups and they vote for conservative candidates. However, Katz argues that opinion seekers seek information from our group in the voting study. So it's worth to see this perspective in the opinion leader, organizational political science opinion leader study. So place and economics context affects the identities between managerial and non-managerial opinion leaders. In Sicily, Italy, co-ops are supported by Sicilian government, which utilize co-ops as a tool against mafia. So the anti-mafia organizational culture shapes administrators. However, the anti-mafia co-op culture has little influence to workers since they perceive their work in the unequal power relations because of the two-tier organizational structure. They also have to integrate with local mafia culture due to the way of life, which is the need for the additional income outside the co-op to support their family. So in sum, this literature review assumes that democratic co-op organizational culture leadership may shape organizational opinion, political science opinion leadership at the co-ops. So the identity of opinion leaders is associated with organizational stratification and social relations with in and out groups, as well as the community. Other factors have been suggested in studying organizational political science opinion leadership, for instance, organizational structure, geographic context, economic context. So this project plans to study large-scale co-ops with retail chain store and online store in the United States to see if the place context, such as the geographic and online community, has impacts on organizational political science opinion leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions? I see Nathan's giving a round of applause. So can I just, I was trying to understand, so you're saying that this sample is research that you're going to do, that large scale?
Yes, because at this moment I just finished the literature review.
Right, okay.
And people always think the co-op should be just democratic leadership. Yeah. But actually within the context, like the example I give to everybody in Sicily, actually the government involved with co-ops. So they create the culture as anti-mafia culture within the co-op. But the people, because it's two layers, one is manager, one is non-manager. So the manager, they don't pay much. So they have to get a job from within the community. So that's why they don't, the organizational culture, the anti-mafia organizational culture doesn't shape the workers. It's a very interesting topic.
So how are you going to do this research? What are you going to do?
Because in America, it's a big country, so they have I'm interested in the online outdoor equipment store. They have a store online and in the local, in the 39 states. So like large, extremely like large organization, not like normally. Most of the study for co-op is like the farm and then the local community, the interaction. But this is like, wow, this is huge, like a big, it's because co-ops still have to make money to distribute the profit, right? So is it similar like a normal organization, profit-oriented organization, or is different?
Well, yeah, thank you. I can see Charles has got his hand up. Charles, do you want to switch on your mic and camera maybe?
Hello. I thank you. I think this was really interesting. I mean, just a comment, something that might be helpful for you. This thing about regional governance and the link between everything, in fact, is quite important, and there is a specific literature on that. In geography in particular, so I think there's a really good journal that is called Regional Studies, so you might want to have a look at that. And then there's another another point I wanted to make. So there is a lot of work, and I can I will mention a paper or two in the chat box in a minute about the Basque Country in Spain, because you might know, but it's in there that I think one of the largest cooperatives is. So there are papers there. There are papers about that, and it's quite interesting. So you might potentially want to compare what is going on in Sicily and the Basque Country. And the Basque Country is very specific because it's Spain is a federal system, so they have a high level of autonomy and money, and also they have a strong regional culture. Anyway, I'll stop now, but I thought I would mention that.
Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Charles. And yeah, I think it sounds like it's in a point where these sort of ideas kind of feed in, because you're just putting together the project. It sounds like this, having done your literature review. So thank you for that. Any other thoughts, suggestions, questions? Stumbling slides. I mean, it looks like it's fascinating. Your discussion about the mafia being funded by the mafia, the anti-mafia, was fascinating. So, but have you got anything else you'd like to add, Lisa? I mean, because you didn't take much of your 15 minutes to talk, so you've got some spare time.
How about the co-op in online, this kind of setting? Have you seen any literature in this perspective?
Co-op in the online setting?
Yes, because co-op, most of the research only focus on local, because like we have to share the profit with customers. But how about the online setting? Because the local become bigger or global.
It's a really interesting point. I don't know, Steve or Dermot, from your review of the literature, whether you've seen anything that you might be able to pass on to Lisa.
No, nothing specifically on online cooperatives that we've come across. Not about leadership. There's obviously quite a large literature on cooperatives that doesn't specifically talk about leadership. No, I think it's a good question about the different types of cooperatives. You've got retail cooperatives, producer cooperatives, and I know within the cooperative studies there's quite a bit of literature about the differences between those types of cooperatives. And it's quite interesting. So the Cooperative Association in the UK does describe them as a capitalist organization or capitalist organizational form, whereas many cooperative activists would say no, that they're not a capitalist type of organization. So there's a whole range of views both within the cooperative movement as well as outside the cooperative movement as to how they function, how they should function.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to comment, I'm not sure it's helpful, but it's just Steve from the previous presentation. There is this term called platform co-op. I only came across it last week when I was researching some teaching, but I know there are platform organizations, and this platform co-op seems to be a sort of online-based community cooperative. So I don't know, that might be a useful term for you. As I said, it was just something I bumped into last week. I just thought I'd mention it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Steve. Any other questions either way? Any other questions you've got, Lisa? Having these experts in the room, we've already done a lot of reviews.
How about online? Actually, online has different. The community within online has different idea. Because, for example, I'm interested in this outdoor equipment shop, but they have when you go online, will become certain people have similar interests. For example, they have a biking equipment, so biking people will have a online group called biking community. So that's my question about, do we need to specific going to see different online community? So some people may be different sports. So different sports, they have different community, because at the weekend they go to do the biking together, cycling together, or they do hiking together, but the community become different from what we think.
I don't know whether that's a question, because I saw you rate. Oh, yeah, Nathan, you switched on your mic before Lisa asked her question. So I don't know if you're answering in response to a question, or whether you just have a question, if you see what I mean.
A question. I'm curious about implications of this research in areas such as the modern university. Are there similar principles that we're seeing emerge in higher education that might be parallel? We're having a change of president at our university, and it's an opportunity to have a conversation about what a university looks like. Could we transfer some of what you're doing into a field like higher ed?
Yeah, I think a British scholar has already done a lot of democratic leadership, like distributed leadership in higher education. So have I answered your question?
Go on, Nathan. I think it was perhaps more a general comment about ideas going forward, but go on, I'll go back to you, Nathan.
No, that's true. It was more of a general, because the audience may have opinions as well. As if we're trying to reboot leadership, this is an area where conversation will affect many of us, because we're academics, many of us. And to see how this research can be imported or adapted to our world is something that I think we'd be excited to consider. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else have either response to Nathan? You still got your hand up, Nathan, but I presume that wasn't any response to Nathan, or any other questions for Lisa, or any thoughts? Whether you've got anything else to add. Lisa, I wish you good luck with your project. It sounds like you've still got quite an open mind about where to go with it, and which is always one of the hardest stages, is there's so much out there, and especially as you say,
yes,
cooperatives, but there's localism in the cooperatives, or if you suddenly go online, you lose that. And as you say, you've got the idea of the community. So good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Sounds like yeah, you're interested in lots of things, which is often my problem. They're interested in too much.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where to focus in on, but you've raised some really interesting points, and you've obviously done a really good review of the literature already to sort of set you off. So thank you very much for that. I'm conscious we have got a bit of time left, but the next session is at 3 o'clock. There's 3 parallel sessions again. So obviously there's an opportunity now to have a comfort break. But if anybody else wants to sort of hang around and ask any questions, please do. Otherwise, I guess we'll see you at 3. Unless you've got any. Have you got anything else you want to add, Lisa? Or are you?
I'm good. I think it's good. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And thank you also to Steve and Dermot and Nathan as well for your really interesting session. So thank you. And I will see you, I guess, hopefully in one of the sessions at 3 or otherwise later on. So thank you very much.
Bye.